North Nevada Knights, welcome to another episode of Pride Talk with Mr. Summers, with today's guest, Mr. Banham. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Pride Talk. Today's guest is Assistant Principal Mr. Banham. He's here today to talk about how to register for your electives. That being said, Mr. Banham, what do you want everybody to know this year about the process?
Well, first I'd really like to let everybody know how important it is to us that students have a voice and have choice and are able to create as much of a learning experience that is meaningful and fills their heart with joy. So it's so important that during this process we have everyone participating and being honest and telling us what they desire for their upcoming school year. Of course, you have your core courses, which you will always have and are part of a well-rounded education. And then you have your electives courses, which allow you to choose different course materials and subjects that pique your interest or that you would like to explore and find out if they're interesting to you. In our electives registration process, saying that we are having you register for an elective can be a little bit misleading, especially given the COVID pandemic and given so many uncertainties with the upcoming school year and many complexities with building schedules and maneuvering through these times. Unfortunately, we can't really make guarantees around our courses and our electives. But by having you fill out what you want to take for electives, it provides valuable information to us that helps us create schedules and do our best to provide those courses to you and to make those schedules and that learning sequence that you want as students. So even though when you go into these resources and into these materials and into this process and getting into IC to choose your electives, even though I can't promise you that that's the elective that you're going to get, it's so important to me that you are honest and you tell us what you want, because that's going to shape what we are able to do as a school and tell us where we need to be putting our efforts into.
I see what you're saying, Mr. Banham. So while we can't guarantee that everyone's going to get the elective choices they want, it still is important that you pick your top 4 at least. So when we get all the information, we can look at the master schedule and we can try to build a schedule that's going to give kids the electives that they want to the most that we can.
Exactly. Mr. Summers, how can students find out about our electives and how can they share their voice and what they want?
That's a great question, Mr. Banham. Let's take a closer look. So the first thing you want to do is open a web browser and go to northarvada.org. That is going to take you to our home page, and right here we have the 2021 to 22 registration. So you have the 6th grade course request guide, you have the 7th grade course request guide, and you have the 8th grade course request guide. We also have the grade level appropriate course request sheet, and they are both available in English and in Spanish. So you may be asking yourself, well, Summers, how do I know exactly which one to click on? That's a great question. So if you are currently in 5th grade, you are going to click on the 6th grade course request guide. If you're a current 6th grader, you're going to click on the 7th grade course request guide. And if you are a current 7th grader, you're going to click on the 8th grade course request guide. Let's take a look using the 6th grade course request guide as an example what you'll see. All right, so here's our home page. Again, this is a good time when you get here. Make sure you're at the appropriate grade. If you see 6th grade elective course request guide and you're currently a 6th grader, you need to go back out and click on the 7th grade one. So if you scroll down, this gives you some information about basically what Mr. Banham was talking about in getting the electives you want. We have our schedule change policy. Here's where we have the course electives. You have the name of the course, and then you have a brief description of each one. And if you keep scrolling down, you're going to come across our year-long electives. And again, same thing as above. You have the course name, and then you have the course description right here. The next thing you want to do is you come back here and you go to the appropriate grade level course request sheet. Again, just pick the appropriate grade level for you. We're going to use 6th grade as an example. In the past, we've given these out as hard copies, but this year we are no longer doing that. we have the form right here, and you can do a couple of things. You can print it off if that helps you, and you can write down your top 4 electives. You can just write down your top 4 electives and just know what they are, so when we go over registration, you're ready to go. Important, if you have a year-long elective, I would just put your year-long elective request here first, and then we still want you to put down your top 4 electives. A really good next step would be to sit together with your parents and guardians and your students and really go over these this week and kind of get an idea of what your top 4 electives will be. And I hope this was helpful. I guess the next question everybody's wondering is, what can they expect as far as the registration process in February?
It's a great question. Early February, we are going to be able to provide students with course material information. So that would be your course booklet or your registration card. Just so you know, even though we're providing you with a registration card and course booklet, we actually don't need those materials back this year. Everything's going to be digital and in IC. So don't worry about returning those to school. They're available on our website, and that's for you and your family to look at our coursework. And that's all going to be out early February, so you can start thinking well ahead. About mid-February, myself, counselors, administrators, we're going to be pushing into classrooms and talking to students and really getting them hyped up and helping you understand what electives are on the table, what next year is going to look like to the best of our ability, and then kind of help you make those final decisions so that by the end of February, before March, all of you will have had the opportunity to go into Infinite Campus and tell us what you desire for your courses next year.
Well, that sounds great, Mr. Banham. I also want to emphasize that I know there's probably going to be a lot of questions coming up about electives. All I ask is that you give us a little time to iron out all the details. Know that right off the bat, we're not going to have answers right away. So even if you reach out to your counselors or to me or Mr. Banham, we may not be able to answer your question right away. So there is a little bit of patience we're asking for everybody as we put this together. We are going to do our best to meet your requests and create something that works for everybody. All right, Mr. Banham, well, I know you're super busy. I just want to say thank you so much for taking a little time to talk to us about the registration process. Any last words you want to send out there to all the Knights?
Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. And again, I know that it can be stressful to hear that we can't guarantee any electives, but I want you to really know that we value you so much in your voice, and it's so important that we hear from you. And you're amazing people, and I know these have been a challenging year for some, but we've done great things this year, and I know we're going to do great things next year. So I appreciate you all as community members, and as always,
go Knights!